Wow, okay, Charlie, you're awful loud.
We
All
can go.
all right.
No, it's not you. It's the owl. The owl's on steroids here. All right, so the meeting is now being recorded. And so I will call the meeting of the Freetown Conservation Commission to order. The minutes reflect that we do have a quorum. It is a hybrid meeting. Members present would be Margaret French and Kevin Damaris. Staff present is Victoria D'Antoni. And members joining by remote access would be Charlie Sullivan. So that does make up our quorum. Okay, I guess this might be the last time I get to read this. I don't know. No. March 31st is when the governor's order ends, correct?
As of right now.
As of right now. Okay, so I'll briefly, on July 16th, 2022, Governor Baker signed into law an act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations, which among other things extends the expiration of the provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to March 31st, 2023. Specifically, this extension allows public bodies to continue holding meetings remotely without a quorum of the public body physically present at a meeting location and to provide adequate alternative access to remote meetings. This means the Freetown Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public can be found on the Town of Freetown website, freetownma.gov. No in-person attendance of the members of the public will be permitted. Well, that's not entirely true because it's hybrid. People can come in here, but that would be in case we didn't have it. All right, so that being said, I've done that. I'm calling the meeting to order. We just have a couple of things. First would be the notice of intent. So I'll call that notice of intent public hearing back to order for 92 Narrows Road. Unfortunately, the applicant's representative has asked for a continuation. There was a scheduling conflict. So he asked to go to what meeting?
March 13th.
March 13th, lucky 13. So that being said, and I'll just give you a brief update. If you haven't already read the peer review for that, if you remember, this was for a dock and for a boat ramp installation or construction at 92 Narrows Road. The boat ramp has been removed off the plans, given the difficulty in doing that. And it would appear that our environmental partners group, who's been doing the peer review for us, that they have answered all their outstanding comments, and it would appear that this project will be good to go for our consideration at the next meeting. So that being said, I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing to March 13th, 2023, 6 o'clock, hybrid.
So moved.
Second,
Motion's made and supported. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain. I don't know that we have to do. We
roll
have to
call
do.
vote.
Do we still have to do a
Yes,
roll
we
call
have to
on?
do a roll call.
Yes,
Okay. So roll call vote. Charlie Sullivan.
Aye.
Charlie Sullivan, aye. Margaret French.
aye.
Margaret French, aye. Kevin Damaris, aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next on our agenda, we have a request for determination of applicability. This is for 100B Middleborough Road. And for those of you who don't know where 100B Middleborough Road is, it's actually on the conduit, which we have now changed those addresses. So it'll no longer be in the future 100B Middleborough
Yeah.
Road. It will be what?
Lang Road.
Okay.
It'll
Okay.
be but that's not until July 1st, so that's why I left the.
No, you're right. I'm just letting
Okay.
everybody know if in the future, right, when we get the COC come in and they go, well, we are,
Yeah, I'll make a note on the file.
Yeah,
too, so-
right. So, and what this is for is, this is for an after the fact vegetation clearing, installation of septic leach field, removal of 2 trees. So, in my role as Board of Health agent, I reviewed a septic plan and it looked like everything was going to be outside the 100-foot from a potential wetland. Upon installation, as can happen, the field or the tank moves a little bit, site conditions would allow for that, and just it gets picked up. But when that happened, the homeowner, who was also the installer, got a bit ambitious and started spreading out some material and cleaning up his property. But unfortunately, that was done within the 100-foot buffer zone. So once I made contact with the owner, he made contact with his engineer, and we have the engineer here tonight. So for the record,
Darren Michaelis from Foresight Engineering.
Okay.
And basically Kevin's story is how it follows. I was hired to do a septic repair. Property was severely overgrown. All the wetland map showed a wetland to the far rear, which I did document.
Mhm.
So we did the septic repair. Like Kevin said, most installers don't go about clearing the entire property. When they put in a septic, with this homeowner decided he wanted to clear the slope, and once he did that, we could clearly see cat nine tails down there. So Kevin called me right away. We put up silt fence right away and submitted this filing as quickly as we could. So basically, there's not a lot of vegetation to be removed. A lot of it has been drawn out. It was mainly the brambles
Yeah,
and the wild invasive
I
species.
was gonna say, there was some invasives over there,
Yeah.
so, you know, overall, good thing that happened, just,
And now we just have 2 trees that were kind of choked off by those invasives, and he wants to remove those because they're probably gonna fall over anyways eventually. And then he'll be done with that slope there. And silt fence is in place
Mhm.
properly, protecting the wetland. There was no damage to the wetland
No.
itself. All the work is pretty much done 50 feet out from the buffer zone.
all right, yeah, and I will tell you, I followed up because, once the homeowner heard that, he said, oh, shoot, didn't realize. Went out to Downers Point, got the silt fence, you know, and has, waited to do any further work until he gets approval from us, so. I appreciate, again, everybody being honest up front and being responsive, so thank you.
Yep.
If anybody doesn't have any other comments or questions, then I will happily entertain a motion to issue a negative determination number 3, that while the work was in a buffer zone to a resource area, it will not dredge, alter, or fill the resource area, so a filing, notice of intent filing is not required. Somebody make that motion, please.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion's been made and supported. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Roll call vote. Charlie Sullivan.
Aye.
Holly Sullivan says aye. Margaret French.
Aye.
Margaret French says aye. Kevin Damaris says aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Darren, thank you very much. We'll get these things signed. You want us to send them to you or to the
Yeah,
homeowner?
Send them right to me.
Send them to you.
Appreciate it. I'll be in
Perfect.
touch.
Good
Have a
night.
great night.
You too.
Night.
Yeah, I'll text you Cam's address there. All right, thanks. Next on our agenda, we have a request for determination of applicability. This is for 11 Washburn Road. The applicant owner is Gabrielle Doolin. And the scope of work is proposed fencing around a portion of the property. I think we have we have Gabrielle and we have a special guest.
Yeah, Odin.
Outstanding. If that is, if you're gonna use Odin to melt our hearts, so we say yes, it just worked. It worked. Gabriel, I'll be honest with you. Why don't you just introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about what you want to do, dear?
Yep. So I'm Gabrielle Doolin, and we just wanted to partially fence our property. So we didn't want to fence off the pond. We just wanted the fence like going on the sides of the property and then the front of the property.
Yeah, yeah. But how far away? It says, we would like to build a fence around a portion of our property. Does that say SMC fence? What does that say? The fence line would lead to the pond. Okay. I
Yeah,
have attached paper of a drawing of the plan and details of the fence. Okay, perfect.
yeah. So it wouldn't, I mean, there's a lot of brush before the pond. We wouldn't be.
I see, it's gonna be I see what you're doing, Gabriel, not to cut you off,
Okay.
but it's an upside down U. It's a horseshoe, so to speak, right? The back of your property will be open to the pond. You just want to have a fence line that goes down to the pond.
Yes.
Okay. A lot of times fencing and fence lines and stuff, they're an exempt activity. But in this case, it's good that you're doing this because once you get the permit, nobody can question you. And I know I keep looking up at the TV like she's going to be able to see my face. That's not happening here. I should probably look at the owl.
Well, she can see you either way.
She can
Yeah,
see me. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Damn technology. Okay, so the bottom line, it says privacy fence on the front and one side and a chain link side of the library. Okay. And we're not going to go into the wetlands to do this. Typically in and around wetlands, we ask that the fence, it's not any taller than 8 feet, is it?
No, it's 6
6-foot
foot.
fence, standard, right? Okay, and usually we like to have you hold it off 6 inches off the bottom, off the ground, which is usually pretty easy. And the reason why that is so the smaller critters can get,
Yeah,
you know. So it's pretty standard anyway, right? You don't want to put your fence all the way into the ground anyway.
right.
Well, at least want the posts in the ground, but so that being said, you're right next door to the White Library. Cool beans.
Yeah,
Anybody have any questions? It's pretty straightforward. Like I said, usually this is, people aren't filing and it's somewhat of an exempt activity, but I think in this case, it's better that she's done that. And, so you got 1 gate, 2 gates, 3 gates. Right? Yep, cool.
Yeah.
If nobody has any issue with this, we can move forward with a motion, again, a negative determination. What did you say, Odin, there? We're doing the right thing, kid? All right. Negative determination number 3, that it will not, dredge, alter, or fill an area subject to protection of the act.
So moved.
I'll
Appreciate it.
second.
Motion's made and supported. Any further discussion on the motions? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Roll call vote. Charlie Sullivan.
Aye.
Charlie says aye. Margaret French.
Aye.
Margaret says aye. Kevin Damaris says aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, Gabriel, so we will get this paperwork done up and signed up in the next couple of days, and we'll send it out to you.
okay,
And then,
perfect.
and after that, you're free to, put the fence up or what have you. If you have any questions or comments or what, just give us a jingle.
Okay,
right.
all right, no
Outstanding.
problem. Thank you.
All right, have a great night. Be well.
Yes,
Good night.
thank you.
Bye, buddy. Have a good night. All right. All right, so next on our agenda, we would have a request for the extension of order of conditions. We have the, do we have the application filled out to do that?
They don't fill out an application, they just submit a letter.
Didn't we just talk about this?
So this was actually a year ago. We
Gonna say
gave a
we did-
1
It
year.
wasn't just, but yeah, it was a while ago. But you're right.
Yeah, it was a year.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
gave them a 1 year extension.
Okay.
So they are requesting a 5 year extension, which we cannot give. We can only give a 3 year extension per
Mhm.
the.
They have done nothing.
Correct. So I guess what I'm comfortable with now, because his order expires next month. Right.
Yes, smart.
He's got to
March.
get this extension
So,
before it.
Yeah,
expires.
so I think my level of comfort would be, let's give him the 1 year
1 more year.
right
This is-
now.
What I remember is this is what you said, if it was a year ago.
Yeah,
And you said, let's see what happened,
Yeah,
and nothing has
right.
happened. But does it really matter? I mean, it's just sitting, there's no work being done, there's no disturbance of anything.
so he hasn't complete, so let's play this out.
Okay.
His order expires.
Mhm.
He's in a non-compliant situation because he is doing work in and around, so he would have to file all over again.
No, I'm
Right.
saying, why not give him the 3 years?
Well, because I don't disagree.
Okay.
I'd like to get a better idea of a timeline, right?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Because when a project goes this long, and we all can appreciate the fact that there was COVID, supply chain costs, I get it, right? We're not trying to be punitive. And I'm not saying that in another few months, we wouldn't give him the 3 years.
Yeah.
But maybe try to impress upon him that we'll give him the year, but we would want maybe in the next several months, if he can come in with some sort of timeline where certain
Mhm.
things and milestones that we can make sure. What we don't want is all of a sudden this project and he just walks away. And now we've had something sitting undone, so to speak, and for years and years, right? It's an ambitious project, what he wanted to do. He had to raise the house up, flood zone issues, this whole new septic, it's costly when you're doing it, right? So I have no issue if you want to give him the 3 year now. If that's the will of the board, I will not take exception to it. But I'd still like to get him in here in the next month or so to say, hey, we need to impress upon you that this is probably the last one that you're going to get from us before people start questioning, what are we doing over there? You know, because all the while you have this open order of conditions, you need to make sure that your siltation control is being maintained, any special conditions that we put on that. And the longer the time goes on, the less controls they have. So if it's your prerogative, the both of you, I'll If a motion is made, I will happily support.
No, actually, you've convinced me. I think maybe the 1 year with
Yeah.
the potential for another.
Absolutely. I have no
extension would,
problem, and we've always said this, show a little bit of progress. If you
Yeah.
can come in and say, over the last year, this is what I've done, fine.
Mhm.
But if this is, it's dropped off the face of the earth, I don't have a contractor on site, I haven't even been there, and well, how do we know that things are being done in a manner that is supposed to be done according to the permit? So let's see about, and again, he can just call in and we can just have this very, very minor conversation, but I think in fairness to us and in fairness to him.
What do you think, Charlie?
Yeah, I have a question. Relation to a building permit.
Yes.
How long does a building permit extend out?
So a building permit with no activity whatsoever would be 6 months. If you do nothing in those 6 months, I can tell you my experience only being in Freetown and having worked with several building inspectors now, they all seem to have the same mantra. If I go over there and I see that you are working at, even if it's a snail's pace, but you are continuing to work in a manner towards the goal, then I am not going to try to remove or revoke that building permit. If I go by there and something hasn't gotten done for a while, I think they would be within their rights to, after, if they don't do anything for 6 months, to do that. But I can get 100% clarity on that, but that has been what I have been told, because I've asked that same question in the past, and about this one particular house too.
Okay, so if I'm clear, then the owner is renewing in other words, is renewing the building permit every 6 months.
He's doing it right, and I will say this in complete honesty. I don't know how high on the list this one particular location has been with the last 2 building inspectors. I don't know. What I will ask Victoria to do is to follow up with the building department, say, hey, we've gotten this. Have you been out there to find out if he's done any inspections? Because to your point, if he hasn't done anything, then there may be a jeopardy of that, but of him losing that building permit. But even if he loses the building permit, Charlie, his septic permit is still going to be good. The septic permits are good up until the time that the Board of Health agent decides that they're not. Right, that say environmental things have changed, there could be, so in this instance, before that we didn't renew it anymore, I'd like to see the septic system installed, quite honestly.
Yeah, they haven't even done that.
No, I know, and usually that's the last thing you would do, right? You do everything else, and then you do the septic system, because you don't want construction vehicles and all driving over your septic system, driving all right, because you'll crush things. So that's typically the well gets put in, house gets built, septic gets installed. So I think if we bring him in, we get answers from building department, Victoria, for Charlie and the rest of us. We can implore him to try to get on a schedule with us so we can see that certain things are being done, because the alternative is we tell him, no, you've had 5 years now, however long, to do this. You need to get the site stabilized and done, and then we'll go out there and do a COC for and then any new work you'll have to file again, and there's a cost with that. So if everybody's good with the 1 year, then I'll entertain that motion.
Okay, if you can just indulge me for one other question.
Absolutely, Charlie.
In relation to the old septic system, do you know if anything was done to disable that? Or is that
At the top of my head, Charlie, no, it precedes me as the Board of Health agent. And you make a very good point, and I will look into it. My understanding is, though, that there's no water or electricity to this site. It is not inhabited.
Right, yeah.
Right.
I'm just a little curious as to maybe disabling and filling in the old system might be appropriate.
Well, it certainly was a condition.
Since it's not being maintained, so to speak, as
Good
a
point.
resident.
We will bring him in. I do know this. It was part of our approval, and if I had to guess, it certainly was part of the approval for the Board of Health. Given its proximity to Long Pond as a secondary drinking water, that is the usual course of action. Even to the point where removing the existing structures and over dig, and then bringing in clean material. We will get I will get you an answer on that for our next meeting, or Victoria could certainly send it out, but that's a very good point. So, and that's part of why we bring him in. Listen, okay, you can't do, well, let's get the old septic system, and maybe he says, hey, you know what? That it's in the same location with my new, it doesn't matter. All right, but let's figure out where he's at. Because to Margaret's point, she lives right down there in that neighborhood, right? If, stuff
I
isn't.
walk by it every day.
Yeah, so stuff,
Nothing.
right. So stuff isn't getting done, which we're not just gonna keep extending this order of conditions, so. So, like I said, if somebody is comfortable making the motion for 1 single year,
I'll make that motion.
thank you very much.
I'll second.
Motion being supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Charlie Sullivan,
Aye.
Holly says aye. Margaret French.
Aye.
Margaret French says aye. Kevin Demara says aye. Motion passes unanimously. Perfect. So Victoria, please reach out to Mr. Louise, tell him that we gave him the 1 year, right? We'd happily give him more, but we need to come in and to give us an update, and we need to be able to impress upon him our concerns about the lack of movement on that project. Okay? All right, next on our item agenda, we have an opportunity. If anybody is vaguely familiar, well, Charlie, you're going to be familiar with the Betsy Tabor property, off of Nestles Lane.
Yes.
Okay, so we have an opportunity. There's an additional 6 acres that has come up for sale. It's part of Mrs. Wilkinson's estate. Not to get too much into it, but she needs to divest herself of some things. She wanted to give it to the town. Unfortunately, with the way Medicare, Medicaid, when you end up in an assisted living or a nursing home or something along those lines, they'll look back for 5 years. If you have gifted away anything to try to get out of having to spend that money on your those services, you will get denied. So Victoria and I have been in contact with the attorney, and we've managed to get her to agree to the minimum what they can accept, which would be what the assessed value is. Okay, it's not assessed at much. It's $48,500. It's a 6-acre parcel. It's got a significant wetland to it, which is interesting about the Betsy Tabor, which is mostly upland back there. If you look at our GIS and see, so this will be a good component to add to that. The good news is this doesn't come out of direct taxation. This is coming out of our land fund, right? Which has been supplemented, at least more recently, will again be at town meeting with the rollback taxes that is earmarked. Not to mention that we have been bestowed gifts of money in the past for the purposes of that. Do we know how much is in there?
So in the land fund currently, we have just under $105,000. And if we do the article, which is up for discussion later tonight, for rollback taxes, that's just under $80,000.
Right. So in my history, we have never really purchased any property because every time a property comes up, it's so exponentially more money than what this is that we just can't afford it, and it doesn't make much sense. In this instance, and I will just let you know, because of my role here as the Board of Health agent, I've been on that site out there, and they were doing a couple of perk tests. So she's obviously looking to maximize that property. It's a pretty substantial property. She owns a number of them over there. And my fear is that if we don't move on this, then it becomes a private ownership. And we will forever lose this opportunity to get that wetlands connected with the uplands of the Betsy Tabor. In my opinion, after reading the recommendation, and I will just take the time now to point out that Victoria did that on her own volition with no outside help from me or anybody else for not that she needs my help, and she did a very, very good job. I think she weighed out pros and cons and she gave out the site information, and her overall recommendation is that we do in fact purchase it for those reasons that I mentioned. Given, you know, its cost, the likelihood that this, if we don't buy this, that it will end up in the hands of a private owner and may try to get maximized development of that 6-acre parcel. And its proximity to the Betsy Tabor, it'll add a significant portion onto that too. So I think it kind of ticks all the boxes. So I'm wondering what the rest of the board thinks about that.
I think it's a perfect opportunity. The
Okay.
price is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, as a standalone lot, difficult to develop, but they're not, I will tell you this now, it doesn't make sense that they would leave it as a standalone lot. What they will end up doing is they'll come in with that subdivision road. They're looking to get maybe 1 or 2 lots. That's all that's practical over there, but they will just add that in. And this adds an extra, I think, just in my
And
opinion.
where it already abuts.
Yeah, the Betsy
abuts-
Tabor. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
And it abuts the Nestles Lane.
I was gonna say,
Sanctuary and
Mhm.
Acushnet.
this and Acushnet is part of
Thank
the
you.
greater, the Betsy Tabor, and this were all part of one parcel, if I'm not mistaken.
and Acushnet, Nestle's
It's
is
right
not right, but it's not like fenced off or anything.
Nope,
So
no.
all of that would just be all
open, yeah,
open.
yeah, I
Nice.
mean, right,
Nice.
right. And you can see
Yep.
here, right, the wetland over, there's some upland, but there's not any wetland over here on the Betsy Tabor, so this is, it's kind of nice.
Yeah,
So,
you get a little of everything.
yeah, and again, the good part is we have funds, they were never taken from direct taxation. It's filing fee funds, it's land purposes for the purchasing property, and it's the rollback taxes
Yep.
on agricultural land. So if nobody else has anything, then I would happily entertain a motion. And just the mechanics of this is, we can make this purchase on our own without going to town meeting. It just needs to be, basically our vote needs to be ratified by the selectmen. And if need be, I've already talked with the town administrator. If need be, Victoria or myself would go to the selectmen's meeting to let them know and do this little thing for them. But I think it's an easier pill to swallow when you understand that we're not using taxation money for
Right.
this,
Right.
so.
All right.
All right, so,
I have a
Please,
couple
please.
questions.
yes,
First
please.
of all, the map that Victoria, that you've presented, the kind of square piece of land with the sign on it, that's the parcel that we're talking about, incomplete?
Correct, this square right here.
Yes,
Okay, so I'm looking at it and it's almost completely wetlands, correct?
yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Just vaguely, I'm thinking the property, it's gonna be on the east side of County Road. How
Yeah.
far up from the New Bedford line is it on County Road, the 100A?
Wait. The 100A?
I'm not sure. This is like right behind 2 County Road.
So you asking how far off
Yeah.
a county road it is?
No, I was trying to kind of visualize where it was along County Road.
Okay,
And
so
the
that Acushnet property line, not to cut you off, but it stays on that same angle and then goes
Uh-huh.
right to County Road. So if what you're asking is, it is basically on the property line or the corporation line between New Bedford. If you're familiar with how that is, so
Right.
just that little corner, Acushnet ends before it hits County Road and New Bedford kind of juts in.
Yes.
So it is very, the mini storage, if you were to walk in from that new mini storage that was built, if you walk in along their southerly property line, you will walk right to that parcel.
Okay, so we're just,
I believe I've already, go ahead, Charlie. Yes.
so the line that I see on the bottom left-hand corner, where the you have the Acushnet Freetown line, then you have a line that runs in the opposite direction of that. Is that the New Bedford line? You understand what I'm saying?
Kind of, yeah. Did you want me to try and pull it up so you can pull up the map?
Well, I don't know how, much you're gonna end up having the need to do that, Victoria, but, so the bottom left-hand corner, where there's the line that
Yep.
comes,
So, yeah, you
That's-
see it right here? Where I'm
Um,
circling?
well, hold on, because I'm on the, circle it again. Is that where you have
I
the
think
arrow? Yeah,
It's like right, I'm at the bottom of the picture on the left side, like you were talking about. It's like a little bit further down is
okay,
the New Bedford line.
okay.
Oh, that
Um,
line right there is just the end of
think it's the end.
Nestle's Lane, right?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so, cause this is. yeah, this
That's
is
the
on
property line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the parcel boundary.
And I'm still gonna be a little vague, but I know that there was an issue with the leavings, so to speak, of the screw company in that general area. Do we know where there's still an area there that is kind of a brownfield, I believe. I was wondering if we know where this is in relation to that. Does anyone know?
I'm unfamiliar with where that crew was. Mike is on the call, our open space coordinator. He might be familiar with that property.
Are you, Mike?
Are you there, Mike?
He's on mute.
Oh, there he is.
There we go.
I actually didn't hear the question, so I'm not sure what's going on right now.
Charlie was asking, Charlie, you wanna ask your question?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Mike, this piece of property that Wilkinson's proposing to sell to us, how close is that to the old Freetown Screw property?
All right, so if you, on the map that Victoria has, the lot that we're talking about is the sort of square one that's got the little indicator on it, the little black indicator on it.
Yes.
If you followed the town line, which is sort of the southeastern line of that lot,
Right.
if you followed the town line, probably down and to the left, following that angle, maybe about probably about 600 or 800 feet,
Okay.
you would hit County Road at the town line. So you're basically directly behind the screw factory. You're just probably about 600 to 800 feet behind it.
So,
Yeah.
and so just to be clear, just got off the phone with the property owner up front. He called me on another matter, so timing's everything in life. And I asked him while I had a captive audience, if the Conservation Commission wanted some sort of footpath easement over that, your property to gain access to the greater property out back. And he said, yeah, no problem. Let's talk about it. Additionally, I may mention this to Victoria. When they do come to do that Form C subdivision to create either the one or the two lots, I think it's really only going to be one. That we, as part of that, we ask them, and we will mention that to her attorney tomorrow. That when they do that, that if they can give us some footpath access, so it gives us access from either side, should we want. Somebody wants to park, because sometimes parking is going to be more readily available out on county in and around there than it would be to go and park on the side of Nestle's Lane, which is a dirt road and sometimes can be in the way. So I thought that was important.
Okay. All right. Just Mike, if you're still there. So what you're saying is that the parcel of land is, we'll say, for argument's sake, 600 feet to the southwest of the property, if that map is north and south. Correct?
Yes.
The screw factory would be yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I just want to make people aware that fact that there was this, I believe there still is a bit of a brownfield behind Freetown Screw. Not all of it was cleaned up.
I just pulled up, Charlie, if it's helpful at all, I pulled up a Kushnet's assessor's map on my computer at home.
Uh-huh.
And adjacent to what we think of as the screw factory, there is a lot that's about just shy of 1.5 acres in Acushnet that's actually still owned by the successor company from Freetown Screw.
Mhm.
Okay,
But this parcel,
Oh,
okay, broke up.
I was just gonna say, this parcel that Peggy's offering is adjacent to 56.5 acres that's owned by Acushnet's Conservation Commission. It looks like it's probably their version of the Betsy Tabor Sanctuary.
mhm.
Okay, all right. I think I get a clearer picture of exactly where it is now. All right, I'll make a motion that we, you know,
So we make an offer of 48.5?
well, that's the assessed value, right?
Yeah, that's the assessed value.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, yeah, I think that would be, appropriate. I don't think that it's a bad offer. It's kind of good for them. You're saying it's 4 acres, right?
It's 6 acres.
Pardon me, yes, 6 acres, okay.
Yeah,
my bad.
and truth be told, Peggy and Mike can speak to this too. Peggy really wanted to just give it to us.
Yeah,
But the law just doesn't allow for it to happen. And so this is
Right,
the bare minimum that she can take from us.
yeah, okay, yeah, I get it. I'm familiar with the situation too, so,
Good, okay.
all right. All right, I'll make that motion.
So appreciate you.
I'll second.
Motion made, supported. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Roll call vote. Charlie Sullivan.
Aye.
Charlie Sullivan says aye. Margaret French.
Aye.
Margaret French says aye. Kevin Demaris says aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, next on our agenda. Discussion and take action relative to the Conservation Commission cover sheet. Okay, so the cover sheet is something that typically, if somebody is going to be installing a septic system, we ask them to kind of pre-apply through us to see if they need to go through conservation. And at least make them aware. So in the past, because we don't have an agent, I've looked at it, Laurie Muncy would look at them, Lauren Moreau would look at them and sign off if I wasn't around. Hell, Karen Robitaille to a certain degree would. But once Lauren left and we haven't really entrusted Victoria simply because she was a senior clerk. She was the planning technician, but now that she's the planning and land use administrator with a much more a bigger role on the conservation side of things. And with my imminent departure in July, after 24 years, I think it would be a good idea so that she doesn't have to keep tracking members down to come down there and look at a thing and go, there's no wetlands on here, and sign it. I started a little test run with Victoria, and what I do is I ask her any kind of these plans, I want her to review them first and then give me her answer on what she thinks should happen, whether they need to file or not. And she's been spot on. Matter of fact, she caught something I didn't, right? The flood zone there on South Main Street. So I rather than me just making an executive decision to allow her to do it, I thought it best to get the other board members approval and acknowledgement that Victoria is going to be able to, once I leave, be able to sign off on the, well, I say once I leave. After this vote going forward, clearly, while I'm here, I'll review the things should she have any questions. But a lot of them are pretty straightforward. There are no wetlands, or the wetlands are, and it's simple. The wetlands are shown on the plan. She looks on the GIS. She may in fact go out, which is sometimes what I've done. And then from there, you just simply tell them a filing with the Conservation Commission is required. And then they can move forward with the application through the Board of Health. They can at the same time file with Concom. It saves a little bit of time. And nobody gets that surprise at the end of the day when I drive by and go, you have to stop installing your septic system because you haven't applied with Concom. It's worked out good so far, and I think that Victoria certainly has the aptitude to do it. So I would just like the blessing from the rest of the commission members to allow her to do that. Anybody
I'm
have,
good.
by consensus, we're good with that?
I'm
Outstanding,
good. I'm good.
excellent. So, and
Uh,
Margaret's shaking her head, you can't hear it rattling around, but.
Okay, I
she's-
didn't know if we needed a motion and a vote.
Well, that's,
or-
again, it's daily business stuff. You know what?
Okay.
Let's fortify it with a motion. So, Charlie, would you be so kind to make that motion?
So moved. I'll let Victoria do this, no problem.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Motion's made and supported. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Roll call vote, Charlie Sullivan.
Aye.
Charlie Sullivan says aye. Margaret French.
Aye.
Margaret French says aye. Kevin Demaris says aye. And motion passes unanimously. Okay, item number 7, this is a discussion and take action relative to a warrant article for 2023. Is Mike still with us?
Yeah, Mike is still here, but I did the article.
No, I know. I just
Okay.
was in case.
Oh.
Right. So this is, again, this is a mirror image of last year, a little different amount. Rollback taxes, right? They get paid back after for a period of 5 years. The law allows for this to be earmarked for certain things, and this is one of them. It would be purchases of property and all. So I have no problem putting this on the warrant, and we just need the blessing of the rest of the board to do that, so. Do you have
So
any,
moved.
take any exception? We have a motion.
Second.
Motion's made and supported. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Roll call vote.
Aye.
Charlie says aye. Margaret.
Aye.
Margaret says aye. Kevin says aye. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 8, we have a discussion and take action relative to ratifying enforcement orders. If you remember, they were sent out via email. 14 Washburn Road and 0 Brayley Road. The good news is, once we did that, almost immediately, within days, both of them have come in and reached out to us. And they fully understand where they're at. Is that correct, Victoria?
Brayley Road has reached out, 14 Washburn has not reached out. But I did get the green.
Hold on, let's back up. 14 Washburn Road walked in with his wife and his daughter and went and saw you the day after I called his real estate agent. to
Oh, but
tell him
not
the issue.
after we got.
No,
the
but he
enforcement order.
was, so I want to be
Okay,
fair to the
sorry.
whole process. You're
Okay,
right.
then yeah, he
It
did-
wasn't
he
after we
did come in
physically
after
wrote
he-
that, but the day before I called his real estate agent
Oh,
to say,
okay.
this is what we're going to be doing.
Yep, okay.
So I just gotta give credit where credit's due,
Yep, okay.
right? And so the enforcement orders, you have copies of them, basically saying the same thing, stop
Mhm.
work,
Mhm.
fortify your siltation control if need be, and come in within X amount of days to do that. So we typically give them 30 days, right? I think we did. So Victoria, if we could just continue following up and staying in contact.
Yep,
and-
we just need a vote to ratify them.
Yep, yep. So I will entertain a motion to ratify both the enforcement orders for number 14 Washburn Road and for number 0 Brayley Road, more importantly, map 247 lot 15.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and supported. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Roll call vote. Charlie Sullivan.
Aye.
Charlie says aye. Margaret French.
Aye.
Margaret says aye, and Kevin Demaris says aye. Motion passes unanimously. Margaret, this is yours. You
They're
know-
perfect.
See?
They're
Thank you.
perfect.
So they're perfect. It's
No
gonna go
typos, no
straight to her
nothing.
flipping head. This is, oh. So that being said, now that we have perfect minutes, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the minutes as submitted for January 23rd of 23 and February 13th of 23.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, supported. There is further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Roll call vote, Charlie Sullivan.
Aye.
Charlie says aye. Margaret French.
Aye.
Aye for Margaret. Kevin Demaris says aye. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 10, any other business properly come before the Conservation Commission? I think we talked about an awful lot tonight, which is good, and we do it in a concise manner. We're to the point. We get things done, which is, I like it. So if there's nothing else to come properly before the board, then I will ask somebody to make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, Mike left.
Yeah, Mike left, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Was Mike only there for questions if
Yep.
we had
Yeah, on
them?
Keene Road,
About the,
yep. I
oh,
asked,
on Keene Road? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
asked him to be there.
So moved.
So, thank you.
Second,
Motion being supported. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Roll call vote, Charlie Sullivan.
Aye.
Charlie says aye. Margaret French.
aye.
Margaret says aye. Kevin Demara says aye. Motion passes unanimously. All right. Thank you, Wes.
No, I was just gonna say have a good night.
Oh, thank you, everybody. Be safe. Have a good night. And our next meeting is
The 13th.
March
March
13th.
thirteenth. Okay, I will be out of town the March sixth, seventh, eighth, and 9th. Then I will be out of town the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th.
Okay, all right.
Training. Sorry.
Okay, no worries.
I will be able to remotely participate in the meeting.
Okay,
But it does, so we can do that and we don't even need a physical quorum until March
Correct.
31st. So as long as one person can be here to do it,
Mhm.
I will, and if need be, I can participate remotely from my training
Yep.
destination.
Yep.
It's a stayover training, unfortunately, because
Yes.
it's so far away,
Chair does not have to be physically present.
until
All
after the
right.
31st. So we've adjourned.
Okay.
So everybody have a great night.
Have
Be
a good
safe. If you
night.
need
Thank you.
anything, certainly reach out. Yeah, thanks.